Literally everything is in there of this wide-ranging con game. Wow. Scam Sam's dad. And then as a pro, putting up an IPO on NASDAQ. Bitcoin manipulation. Absolutely crazy. Welcome back, guys. Thanks for joining. So I was looking around to find a good connection, some kind of foundation between Scam Sam and Daniel Friedberg, given that, of course, during the testimony, Sam gave the bombshell he knew of Daniel Friedberg's shady past. He still hired him. Now, for the defense, this is absolutely a nuclear bomb. This destroys almost any credibility that Sam would have in terms of blaming shady actions by shady lawyers. Now, on occasion, reports come out that the FTX bankruptcy court is suing the usual suspects, but they're also suing Daniel Friedberg himself, and they're even suing the Fenwick law firm. But I never actually read the lawsuit itself. So I was able to find a copy of the lawsuit that FTX filed directly against Daniel Friedberg as an individual. It's all in there. It all starts to make sense. Okay, so I'm just gonna actually just straight up read from the actual lawsuit. But clearly the FTX lawyers, the ones working with the bankruptcy case, they did an amazing job. Now, this doesn't mean that there aren't other characters involved, that it doesn't go deeper with institutions, with nonprofits, donations, and all that jazz, but it means that one of the main characters, maybe more than one main character, the mystery of Sam's dad, actually gets a little deeper, because this essentially implicates his dad. I guess it depends on how you see his involvement, Joseph Bankman. Now remember, this is all in accordance to what FTX bankruptcy lawyers claim against Daniel Friedberg and, of course, the Sam squad, Sam, Gary, Caroline, and Nisha. But specifically, this is targeting Daniel Friedberg and his involvement in helping them out. Okay, so here it is. So interestingly enough, they start by listing the Sam squad, but right away they say that from the initial founding of FTX, or Alameda, starting in 2017, that Daniel Friedberg was involved with setting the whole thing up, saying that Friedberg advised Scam Sam, his inner circle, and ignored all the usual internal controls while serving as a fixer, going as far as even paying off whistleblowers who knew of the fraudulent nature of FTX. Pretty interesting. Now it makes sense why Fenwick didn't help the defense team and ignored their subpoena. It says here that Friedberg was actually a partner, meaning he was one of the head honchos there. So from being a partner at Fenwick, he moved over to FTX. But nonetheless, Fenwick still was retained as an outside law firm. The lawsuit says that he served business practices, and I quote, under the cloak of this wide-ranging con game, Friedberg facilitated the routing of billions of purported gains from FTX to the FTX insiders, to the inner circle, including their friends, families, acquaintances, under the guise of personal loans and investments, including real estate purchases worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Friedberg himself received millions and millions and millions of dollars, including cryptocurrency, received undocumented transfers of an unknown sum amount of money. Wow. Pretty heavy accusations there. That Friedberg directed the preparation of opening bank accounts with false statements, and even false company names didn't exist. Exactly what he was accused of at his last scandal that he got away with. What the hell, man? He looks like he could be in a mafia movie from the 70s or 80s. Anyways, they say that he didn't just fail to implement any kind of regulatory controls, internal controls, that he actually actively obstructed the implementation of any controls internally. And here's another piece of the mystery that I actually never heard before, that Alameda wasn't just founded by Scam Sam and Gary Wang. There was someone involved named Tara Mack Aule, saying that Alameda was basically set up and used to take advantage of the arbitrage between the US and Japan when it came to Bitcoin price. So this gap in price. So when that price gap closed, that Alameda was essentially in a world of hurt, that all their money was gone, that all their profits were gone. And they say this is when Alameda started taking crazy speculative bets on other crypto. So much so that this is why FTX executives started to leave the company, including the Tara Mack Aule, co-founder of Alameda. Compliance concerns. Also, the former president of FTX US left. So apparently people knew that something was up. I'm still wondering why Sam Trabucco not being charged. I mean, the guy had an early retirement after milking the cow. The lawsuit says that Friedberg was there from the earliest of days, from 2017 even until 2019 when they founded FTX. Get this, Joseph Bankman, Scam Sam's dad, urged Sam and others at FTX and Alameda to give Daniel Friedberg a central role and to keep him in the loop. This is Scam Sam's dad, quoting Joe Bankman, saying, keep Daniel Friedberg in the loop so we have one person on top of everything. What? Remember that Sam said that he knew of Daniel Friedberg's misdeeds before hiring him, which means that Joe Bankman knew Daniel Friedberg's shady past. Nonetheless, he was pushing Scam Sam to hire this guy directly. Absolutely shocking. Absolutely freaking stupid. Okay, so from 2017 to 2019, he's with Fenwick. By January 2020, Scam Sam hires directly Daniel Friedberg to work for FTX. Now it gets a little more interesting because he wasn't just a paid lawyer. Scam Sam offered him the dual position with the counsel at Alameda, and chief compliance officer at FTX. On top of his salary of $300K and a bonus, a sign-on bonus of $1.4 million, the man was awarded 8% stake in the company in FTX. They say that in the 22 months that Daniel Friedberg worked at FTX, had a bunch of titles: executive VP and chief regulatory officer at FTX US and WRS. Also, general counsel of Alameda and chief regulatory officer and general counsel of FTX International. So that's 5. They also say that he served as secretary for the board of directors at FTX Digital Markets, FTX Property Holdings, and FTX US. So clearly, this man was privy to a lot of information. On top of that, they say that he was overseeing all legal counsel under the umbrella of FTX and Alameda, and that he was identified as a member of the senior inner circle, the senior executive circle. In 2020, he was given 100 million Serum tokens. These were launched by Solana. At the time, Solana members included those in Alameda. 100 million tokens were worth about $34 million. The bankruptcy court claims that Daniel Friedberg did not provide any info on these tokens. Looks like the plot thickens, guys. Okay, so the lawsuit says that after FTX.com was launched in 2019, that they needed to establish the bank account for the customer deposits of fiat currency. So the customer money would be deposited into the bank, credited to the FTX accounts. But of course, these funds were ultimately commingled and used. So they say that at the time, the US banks didn't want to do business with any kind of crypto exchange, and that Daniel Friedberg solved this problem by, get this, the man is a pro, by setting up shell companies that concealed the involvement of cryptocurrency. That he emailed Fenwick law firm asking them to set up, directing the formation of fake companies, North Dimension Incorporated and North Wireless Dimension Incorporated, both Delaware corporations and owned by Alameda Research. That North Dimension Incorporated was a shell company with no employees, no legit business, no purpose, no operations. That eventually a website was started for the company, falsely claiming that they sold electronics while not disclosing its affiliation with Alameda and FTX. So the lawsuit alleges that by creating these shell companies, that Daniel Friedberg and Scam Sam were able to obscure the commingling of funds between FTX and Alameda. And with this method, they were able to circumvent the extensive due diligence and licensing requirements necessary to open a legit account for customer deposits using the name of FTX. Makes sense. So Friedberg, using North Dimension, that he put false, misleading information on the application. Once the bank allowed this account to be open with North Dimension, receiving tens and tens of millions of dollars all coming in from FTX.com. Apparently, they planned on putting up an IPO on NASDAQ, but this required an audit. Friedberg knew this. So they say that he devised and drafted a sham intercompany agreement to conceal the improper transfer of funds between Alameda and FTX. Because the improper commingling of funds, the audit would show. Remember the payment agent agreement facilitating the movement of money with Alameda and FTX? Daniel Friedberg crafted the so-called payment agent agreement to try to get the IPO approved with the auditors, and that this would theoretically avoid the disclosure of the commingling of funds. What's interesting is that the bankruptcy lawyers and digital forensics experts, they basically tracked all the documents' metadata. What that showed is that Daniel Friedberg created this document in 2021, April 2021, but that he backdated this document going back to June of 2019, handing the document to Sam, signing it in April of 2021. Despite the backdating of 2019, he signed it in ink. There was a wet signature, just like they mentioned in the testimony, rather than using electronic signature like DocuSign, which was more typical of FTX. The lawsuit says that he did this to avoid generating an electronic record of the true data of execution. So him printing out the documents, handing it physically to Scam Sam, that allowed that document to be given to the auditors as a false document, because the electronic document, if that were to be shown, it would show its true created date. Interesting. So Friedberg caused false documents to be provided to the auditing team. Okay, I just have one more thing to talk about and then I'll end it. One of the big claims they make of Daniel Friedberg is that he's a fixer. So apparently FTX was actually sued by ex-employees. Bitcoin manipulation. That's why they got sued. And I actually found a lawsuit for that too. That was dated in 2019. So this FTX insider sued FTX claiming crypto manipulation through pump and dumps, money laundering, and operating an unlicensed money transmitter business, unfair business practices, and even accusing them of violations of the Commodity Exchange Act. All massive, massive accusations from a former FTX insider. Ouch. Imagine that. They accused Daniel Friedberg of orchestrating paying for this guy's silence. I looked up the history of the lawsuit. The plaintiffs withdrew their lawsuit. That Daniel Friedberg orchestrated a monthly payment of $50,000 and millions of dollars on top of that just to keep them shut. Just to keep the lawyers shut, they paid them about $3.3 million to keep their mouth shut. That lawsuit wasn't just directed at FTX or Alameda. It was also directed at Scam Sam, Caroline Ellison, Gary Wang, and others that they all knew of the scam. And that was back in 2019. In December of 2021, a girl working at FTX got fired. This girl had worked there for less than 2 months. She was alleging that Alameda was used also for price manipulation, for crypto price manipulation, illegal market manipulation, and that many things inside the companies were discussed openly on Slack channels, which is not allowed because all employees would be present on the Slack channels. Thereby, they're able to make trades on the info prior to public announcement, insider trading. So she was paid an undisclosed amount of money. It was redacted in the lawsuit. I'm guessing she made out like a bandit, and Daniel Friedberg set the whole thing up. There you have it, guys. The mystery of this man is known. Background and Scam Sam, Gary Wang, and even Caroline Ellison, always proclaiming to be so innocent, just a victim, crypto bulliness, that they were all sued as far back as 2019. The plot thickens in one way because some of the info here doesn't really align with the court testimony that we've been hearing. Pretty interesting. Pretty shocking that this guy hasn't been charged yet. Maybe they're letting him sweat it out a little bit. Once in a while, there's reports of former FTX wallets moving money around. I'm sure this guy has a ton of money stashed away somewhere. Pretty interesting. It basically kills Sam's defense. He has no defense. It's just insanity at this point. Absolutely crazy. All right, guys. Well, thanks for spending time with me. Please don't forget to smash the like, subscribe if you have. See you in the next one.